My screen froze up. Holy cow! That's a great, good way to start the damn show. So welcome back to Trauma Behind the Badge. We're already having the gerbil internet problems here, but any case, we're back. We're back with a great show. We've been busy doing some stuff as usual. You know, the guys are hustling around the country and doing our thing. It's just, we've been very busy. So, and with that, Richie's home dealing with some. He's got some stuff going on at work, so he's dealing with that. So I believe it's somebody in crisis, and Fields has got some personal stuff he's doing right now, so he couldn't be on. But we want to make sure that they're both well. We'll be checking on them and make sure that they're okay. So keep them in your prayers. But Scallon, brother, the locks are getting long. You're damn near like Rapunzel over there. What's going on with you? Yeah, you can flip it now, right? So, I mean, are you doing the whole in the air, like kind of, like, yeah?
I'm doing it despite all my friends that are the same age that are bald. So,
and Doug takes his hat off, as you can see. Yeah, he's got. I will tell you the story. One day, I'm sitting over at Doug's house, and Karen and I. It was Karen, Doug, and I, and Doug's sitting down. And if people know, and Danny, you know already because we got to see you, but me and Doug are pretty much attached at the hip, so I know to look out for the brother. He looks out for me, and he's sitting down, and I look over, and out of the 5 hairs he's got, 2 of them were out of place. They were. So I just instinct, and I put it down, and he's just sitting there. Look, he's dying. It's like he's sitting there, and he's, and Karen just looks at me, and she's like, oh, she's getting emotional because I see the 2 hairs. Yeah, I want all 5 to be down, So I I put him down. He don't move. He just lets it, because most people, when you do the whole look thing, he just sat there and let it happen. He just so he cherishes the 5 he's got up there. So yeah, Scallon. So what you been up to, man? Scallon, what's going on?
So just crazy stuff, prepping for all the stuff we got. Doug and I will be in North Mexico tomorrow, right?
Oh, that's right. You guys are going to Rio Grande Valley, right?
Yeah, we're doing a conference over there, and then I got super fortunate, and I'm going to be presenting at Global Exchange, world's largest mental health conference, which is great. I got also super privileged to introduce, or they're working on it, that I'll be introducing Dr. Temple Grandin, who is, if you don't know who she is, and a lot of people don't know, but she was the one that I think Claire Danes did a movie. They did a movie with her where she's on the spectrum. She's got I was going to say Alzheimer's. I have Alzheimer's.
Is she autistic or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Asperger's, and she revolutionized the cattle industry on the way to herd cattle in a calming sense, instead of making them worry, obviously to get slaughtered, but also to move them. And it's just a game changer. And when I first started getting into psychology and stuff, was like one of the people that I really focused on. And the reason I say you guys, it applies to us, and this is why it's such a privilege, but we are effective because we've been through some bad shit. And we came out the other side, fortunately, or we're still working to come out the other side, right? But we see things different now, and that a lot of people don't see. And so she, in her special mind, sees things differently. And it's funny, she talks about, she doesn't see things in words, she sees things in pictures. So it's like, for me, I'm a very tactile person. I need to touch it, feel it, kind of like work on it, stuff like that. So her point of view kind of led to where we are, like right now, like helping other people who maybe not have seen that, but when they do see it, we want to prepare them for it. Awesome. So super pumped that, and working with Sherry over in National FOP Wellness. Okay. We're presenting at Boston for ICPs on the Power and Beers, which we're going to be rolling out. We did the pilot for it in Chicago and in Colorado, and we're going to be rolling that out.
Awesome.
Heavy. and our girl is on board with
Yes,
it as
sir.
well.
Yes, sir.
Megan
Yes, sir.
Holloway,
Hey,
our
and
partner.
there's going to be some more movement on that hopefully soon. So good, man. That's great work, man. Dougie Fresh, my brother. If you can remember, man, what you've been up to. See, I got to say it that way, Danny, because he might forget. So.
Yeah, I don't remember a bunch, but I do remember this. I'm in a good mood today. Raul, telling you how he's by the hit. He invites me to go put scopes on some sniper
Yeah.
rifles for Orlando SWAT, and so it was a special day for me. Like I don't get to do that no more. And I was telling Karen because she noticed the smile on my face. I'm like, well, first of all, it's always fun to put a bullet through somebody's forehead, on paper,
Right. Right.
for me. But I told her like
Yeah.
I felt important today. It's the first time, in a long time. And, I don't have the skills I used to, but it was still pretty cool. And then I was telling her the guys, the guys from his team, man, they treated me really well and made me feel like at home. And
Yeah, man. It's
it was
cool.
pretty cool. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I got to be
Yes,
a
sir.
sniper
Yes, sir.
today.
So
And
we also that was today. We have it. I think I told you Danny SWAT roundup, and I was telling you earlier today that so we were doing that, and Doug got to help out with the scopes and fire that stuff. So and Ash she wasn't happy today, but she was there. She was because she had to put the earmuffs on, and that kind of pissed her off. So outside of that, before that, Dougie and I were out in Wisconsin for the FBINA. We're doing presentations out there, out in Greenfield, I think it was, Wisconsin. And it's funny, we go to Greenfield, Wisconsin to present at the FBINA, and there's a guy from Florida, Miami, Florida, there at the conference. He's a wildlife guy. And people from all over the country come all the way to
yeah,
Wisconsin to hear us speak. And I'm like, you're like 3 hours away from me. I mean, I could have went right to your house. So anyway, yeah.
yeah,
So then from there, in reference to me, I flew straight from there to San Francisco and I met Richie Kramer out there, and Rich and I went through the ICISF assisting trainer for assisting individuals and assisting a group, and it was a 4 day sit down and kind of get this stuff crammed into you, but informative, So now we're certified. We can. We're dangerous. I don't know. That's another way. We're dangerous now. So that's what's going on with us. And it's been a. Oh, everybody there? Okay. It was eventful, man. I was a little tired to start, but it worked out okay. So any case, man, we are here with Danny O'Neill, and I've got to say how this all came about, and I feel privileged to kind of tell this story. I last year, whenever IACP was going on, and I forget what time of the year that was, I went straight from IACP. I got to speak at the Public Safety Peer Support Association conference, PSPSA. My computer keeps glitching. You guys okay? Okay, good.
You're good. You're
yeah.
good.
Okay, good
You're
deal.
not listening on
So,
our end.
yeah, the PSPSA. So I got to be a keynote speaker there, and after I had spoke, um, this lady, we start talking, and she says, "Yeah, we do this, and this, but we're out on the West Coast." And you know how you kind of get like that sounds really familiar. Like one of those deals like that sounds like a nonprofit I belong to called Survive First. And she's like, because I mean, what she's saying is like it's just ringing, and we're vibing, and we're talking, and it's going, and it happened to be Danny's wife, and so we're just talking. And she says, gotta have, we gotta connect. And I'm telling her, I've got to get you with Survive first, East Coast, West Coast, and we'll meet in the middle, and let's help everybody we can. Like, there was no like, and Fawn was just, she's amazing. Like, because sometimes you talk to people in the industry and you get that, well, I've got my couple of nuts over here. You can't have none of mine, and it, like, Fawn didn't give me any of that. Like, let's collaborate. Let's see. It was cool to kind of get that, right. So and you hear the let's connect, and I make the first email, and man, Fawn wasn't playing. Like, she put her money where her mouth was, and she followed up, and so her and Karen kind of hooked up, and next thing I know, we're talking. We go back out to California, over there by the Chiefs deal that he had, and Fawn and straight up wifey ways told Danny, "You will go." So Danny comes to see us, and we meet Danny, and as you guys saw in the promo, and I steal this from Chris all the time. Real recognizes real, and if you know it, and talking to Danny for like 5 minutes, that's a dude we can get down with, and then next thing I know, we're coming out to Warfighter Overwatch to go speak at their first annual, right? The first annual conference, yeah, first. So we are honored to say that we were there for the first annual amazing conference you guys put together. And I'm just happy to have you here, Danny. Welcome to Trauma Behind the Badge, man. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And, I remember when Fawn came home, I wasn't able to attend that. I was doing something else. And she told me, these are your people, because she knows too. She dealt with enough of these guys. We call her the grunt whisperer, right? So she guys who are seasoned people we would call hard as woodpecker lips, who served in the military, most of them, and they've seen multiple combat tours, a lot of bad stuff. And she has a way of talking to these dudes and getting them to crack open and just be vulnerable. And she's the reason I'm still here today. Yeah. So I know we're gonna jump into all that, but
man, thank you. So yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Hey, so let me tell you this, how awesome they are. So when we flew out to California, they gave us a gift. Yeah. They gave us a gift pack. And just so you know, my basket's on my desk, because I'm one of them dudes. If you give me something, this, I don't get rid of it. I don't care what it is. I keep everything that people give me. Well, Danny gives me this hoodie, and y'all know my skinny fucking cold ass. He gave me this hoodie, right? Danny, I wore that thing until I got to Orlando Airport. Did I not, Raul? I got home and then I had to whip it off. We went to Lake Tahoe the next day, and man, it was like 40 freaking degrees up there. But all four of us had Warfighter hoodies on, man, walking around.
And we've got the pictures to prove it, man. He's not bullshitting. So yeah, for sure. So yeah, and so just Danny, thanks again for being on, man. And we just really wanted to get into just your story and how you came to be doing the work you're doing with your wife, man. So really quick, man, where are you from, dude? And give a little bit of your background.
Yeah, so I was
strike one right there. Strike one, California. Go ahead, man.
And Stockton is famous. I live here in Folsom. In fact, I'm right down the street from the prison right now. But Stockton's famous not for Johnny Cash coming and singing, but because you'll get your car stolen or somebody will rob you, or you hang in third grade, right? So it's a tough place. People know it because of Nick and Nicky as UFC fighters. They're from Stockton, right? So my dad's from Stockton, and so I was born there. I graduated high school in Sacramento, but I moved a bunch. I moved essentially every 2 years. I went to several high schools. My dad got divorced a few times, and so there was a little chaos in my life early. My mom was a drug addict, and to be honest, she was a prostitute as well for a while, because she was trying to feed her habit and those sort of things. And my dad was a Vietnam vet, and he had his own set of demons and stuff that he carried around. He was a cop in Stockton for a while. That didn't last very long. I think he was a little high strung. He probably was a little overzealous on occasion. My dad's a meathead, right? He lived in the gym. And he came back from Vietnam, and that definitely certainly changed him. Just quick for context, while he was there, my grandfather's a World War II vet. He killed himself when my dad got sent to Vietnam. So my dad came home, found out, went back again for another trip. And that probably didn't do his mental health, any justice. And he came back and he struggled. And, obviously they didn't treat our Vietnam vets very well. And so I have 7 sisters.
You got 7 sisters?
So I had, yeah, well, so I have like a couple like stepsisters, but yeah, and most of them are half.
Where are you in that? Like, are you the baby?
That's it. No, because he didn't learn his lesson. You think he would have stopped after, right? But I have 2 younger sisters, and one of them was like an accident. Him from a one-night stand. He found out. I think I was like 12, and he got one of those take a test, and we saw a picture of her, and she had the eyebrow. And I was like, "Oh, test, bro. Just pay the bill." Like,
you couldn't deny her. Can't deny her, right? Is it? Yeah, one of those.
Yeah. And so, and my mom, she had, from her first marriage, she had 2 sons. So I have 2 older brothers. And so I have 2 young siblings, but everybody else is older than me.
All right, man. So home life ain't that well, man. And so is that, I know you ended up going to the military. How'd that all happen?
I thought I wanted to be funny in high school, and it ended up with me going to see exotic lands and getting in gunfights with other people.
Yeah, exactly.
I played sports growing up, and I think that like the things that I learned there, the teamwork, the leadership skills, they certainly pushed me towards, I think, the military. But my dad's service, it was something that I was proud of, even though he wasn't all the time, right? So I think that was a point of contention for him. But when I was a teenager, I was a knucklehead. And so I lived with he got custody of me and my younger sister when I was like 8. And so we moved to Stockton from Sacramento because my mom was not doing good. And, there was things going on. Like we lived without electricity for a year. We moved into my aunt's garage. We were being abused and things weren't good there. So my dad gets custody and we moved to Stockton, and, things were tough there too, but he was teaching me values and things that I hadn't really had before. Those weren't things that I had been taught. So I was a knucklehead and he got tired of my shit is what happened. So he said, "You want to act like a man, go be a man." So he kicked me out. Well, I didn't want to go live with my mom. So I moved in with my brother, which was not far, still in the same little ghetto there in Del Paso Heights in Sacramento. And I was going to school. And the funny part was I'd been cutting school so much before that I was really behind. And so I had this football coach, Coach Albergini, and he's a legend here, Mike Albergini. But essentially, he made me start going to night school. So I'm going to school during the day and I start going to night school, and he's over there every night helping me. And one night I decided I needed a break. I'm going to school all the time. I need a break. So I didn't go to night school. And the next day he asked me, where were you? And I said, well, I needed a break. And he said, "You think I don't need a break? Listen, man, if you don't come back here, I won't be here when you get out on your own." And so I did. I essentially, I just figured that I needed to focus on this shit because I didn't want to be. My dad used to, say things like, "Oh, you're going to graduate with your little sister," or not at all. And I didn't like being a failure was something that I didn't like at all. And I'm pretty relentless when I, like a dog on a bone or something. Like when I see something or I want something, I'm going to go after it until I get it. I'm not going to stop. And so this was the same kind of thing. I didn't want him to be able to have that as ammo to talk shit to me. And so I used that to keep going, man. And to be honest, I had a horrible, I think my GPA was like, 1.2 or some crap. It was horrible. And, but I,
what's that, Doug?
That's great.
Yeah. Doug was all happy. You got a 1.8? Yeah.
It wasn't even that high, and I probably joined the Marines, but, what happened was, I graduated high school and this was in the year 2000. And so I started working for a highway construction company in the Bay Area, not too far from Oakland in Livermore. And I was getting ready for work on September 11, 2001. And I watched some planes crash into the to the World Trade Center. And, you know, I think everybody obviously remembers where they were if you're old enough and kind of how you felt. And I think I knew that I was young and capable and that this was kind of my call to action. I didn't need anything else. I mean, they were talking about what was going on, but no one knew who was responsible and what was really happening. But I knew we were getting attacked. It was clear that we were attacked after the second one hit, and then the one in Pennsylvania crashes and all this stuff, the Pentagon. So I called my boss. You know, it's earlier here on the West Coast, and I called my boss and I said, Bob, you guys love this. I said, I'm quitting. I'm sorry. It's last minute. I'm joining the Marines. And then I proceeded to call the Marines for like 3 hours. And I thought I was 19 and I'm thinking, these guys get up early. Why aren't they answering the phone? And it was because they had two guys there. One was on leave and the other one had to go to MEPS, the military entry process for a brief because the threat level had gone through the roof. So they didn't answer. So I ended up calling the Army recruiter, and they're all right next to each other. And I went down there and like he said, you know what happened today? And I said, yeah, why do you think I'm calling? And I go down there, he has me do some push-ups, take a little pretest, takes me over to the high school. I run 2 miles around the track, thought I was going to puke. And then he said, yeah, you're good, man. And the next day on the 12th, I went down and took my ASVAB, and I decided to become we're called Fisters, but it stands for Fire Support Team. So
God, you're called what? Yeah, exactly. You're called what?
So our motto, elbows deep. Well, here,
your motto is what?
This is the elbows deep. Elbows deep. So we're forward observers, and I'm an artillery guy who goes with the infantry, and I do a math test. Now listen, Raul, if you would have asked me on September 11th, September 12th when I'm taking my ASVAB, Mr. O'Neill, are you good at math? I would have said, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure I took algebra twice, and it didn't fare well. And
okay.
Turns out I'm pretty good at math. So my job was to call for bombs, do a math test in the middle of a gunfight, call for artillery, mortars, air support, anything that blows up, make sure it hits the right spot. So, going into boot camp and all that stuff, I get there October 15th. This is a month after September 11th. I know that these drill sergeants are turned on. They're ready to give us the business because they know now for sure. They know they're not just training me potentially for war. They're training me for the next 9 weeks to go to war. And they're going to do everything they can to make sure that I'm as prepared because they don't want that on their conscience. And I know that because I've talked to my drill sergeants since then. And I ended up becoming the Distinguished Honor Grad in basic. It was like the valedictorian, right? I was ready to get after it and fight for my country. It was I think a way to change the narrative on what my life had been before that.
And so now you're serving your country. You get out of basic and then you start fisting. Is that how you say it? Is that how you say it? Yes, sir. That was just a plug, man. I couldn't help it. But so no, I mean you go through AIT and you get stationed and you start doing. How's the military life? I mean, how's that start going for you? Yeah, a big old smile comes on your face. So, is that because of the fisting or because of just other stuff?
There was a lot of rigidity, so a lot of structure that I didn't have before, right? And so I'm given a task like constantly. Someone's telling me what to do, and for whatever reason, my mindset is I'm very competitive, right? My whole life I've been like that. So I'm like, listen, whatever they tell us to do, climb this rope, I'm gonna climb that rope faster than everyone else. They tell me to do pull-ups, I'm gonna do them until I can't. My arms are shaking, and I can't get my ass up there no more. Whatever it is they do, I'm gonna do it, maximum effort. And so that led me. I went to airborne school and then Ranger indoctrination program. And, I thought I was going to spend my career in the Ranger regiment, and it didn't work out that way. I got in a little bit of trouble, and it wasn't even so much that I got in trouble. My roommate got in trouble, and they had, kind of this, well, I'll tell you what happened. He got caught with a pistol on the base, and it wasn't in the arms room. And they asked him if anyone had seen it, and he had showed it to me, and I never saw it again after that. I thought he put it in the arms room, but he didn't. And so they called me in there when he was having his UCMJ hearing, and essentially what they told me was that I was going to go to needs of the Army and I could come back. So he wasn't allowed to go back. In fact, I think they kicked him out of the Army, but I was allowed to go back to regiment if I had to go through RIP again. That's not what happened though. So I ended up going to Korea, and I was in an artillery unit there. were attached to the infantry guys, and I was training there. Now my first squad leader, his name was Jared Monty, and he was a fabulous dude. Monty is Italian for mountain. Now he was like 5'7". He's from Raynham, Massachusetts. I can still hear him in my head sometimes. All right, boys, we're gonna assault the objective. Sound like you've been smoking for like 40 years, you know. So, and he's just got this voice, this little dude, but he was bigger than life, man. And he made us do so much dumb shit, pushing Humvees in the snow and carrying each other, doing all this stuff. And I'm grateful I had him for that year. And I ended up, so he left, and we had all kinds of craziness. He lost his rifle, and we were doing a river crossing in the middle of the night in Korea. We had to shut down access to this river. So I'll tell you what happened. We got out there in the middle of the night, supposed to cross the river. And I told you he's like 5'7", so he's holding his M4 up. Now listen, dude, I'm PFC. I'm in the back of the line, right? And I'm just gonna do whatever they're doing. So we're going. He gets into the water, and this shit takes him. And so he gets taken down the river, and he gets out. Fucking shit. And so we're like, what's up, Star? And he's like, I dropped my fucking rifle. Yeah. So we're like, oh no, listen, you're expending your weapon. So we pull the Humvees up, turn the lights on, and we're out here trying to find this rifle. It's not working. So now we got to call the brass and tell them that we fucked up. So we calls the boss. They come out there for 3 days. We blocked off access to this. It's in the summer. So we blocked off access to the river. We've tied a rope. This is not a creek. This is a 100 or 70 foot across river, 6 yards downstream. It's calm. 50 yards upstream, calm. Right here, level 4 whitewater. So I wish I was kidding. So we got a rope across the thing. We're trying to find. Several of us have been swept away. Finally, this is typical government crap. They're like, hey, we're going to do a joint training exercise. If the media or anyone comes ask questions, we're doing a joint training exercise with this Korean dive team. The what? The National Korean Dive Team. They bring these dudes out for 3 days. They search this river, and they're Scuba Kim, not Scuba Steve, but Scuba Kim's out there, and he's searching around. On the 3rd day at lunch, this is the 6th day we're out there. Everybody's tired. We're supposed to go back already. We're done screwing around. Okay, so he goes to clear his mask. He's about 15 feet downstream and about 10 feet in from the side. The water's maybe up to the middle of his shin, and he goes to clear his mask before he dons it and starts diving, and he just reaches down and grabs that M4 and lifts it up. Those are the kinds of things. He got in a fight. There was a commo guy and another sergeant got in a fight, and Monty jumped in. He got busted down. This dude was a legend. And then he left, right? He went to Fort Drum, New York, and I went to Fort Hood, Texas, to what we would call leg land, because I'm used to jumping out of planes and rappelling from helicopters, and we're going to war with Iraq now. And so everything changed. You're not going to RIP again. You're not doing none of that. You're going straight to Iraq. So I get to Fort Hood and go straight over to Iraq, do the initial invasion with those guys. They were there before me. I joined up with them after, and then came back. For my unit, it was mostly uneventful. When we got bombed and rocketed and stuff, but it was not a crazy year. Came back, I re-enlist. I'm going to go back again, but now I've been promoted. I'm a squad leader, and now I'm going to train these 10 guys and take them to Iraq on another trip. And that was December of 2005. We deployed on that one. That was much different.
How you're saying much different, but how was it different?
Much more violent. So,
05, 06 was the most violent engagement we had.
Yeah. And for us, so we get sent to Solder City, and it's a shithole, and we know that. They tell us. So we get there on Christmas Eve, wake up in the morning, and they crashed what we call a VBIT, a vehicle-borne IED, a car full of bombs, into the front gate. So these guys are getting ready to go home, and they killed 2 of those guys there, and injured several more. And so that was our welcoming to the shit show, right, to the party. And so after that, it didn't take very long. February 18th, we got our first KIA, and that was Charlie Matheny. He got killed by an EFP, so an explosively foreign penetrator is what they call them, and that's what we were dealing with there, snipers and EFPs. So they would essentially, it was this copper-shaped cone charge that would go inside of your vehicle and then blow up and kill everyone inside. And these guys were experts. They were getting help from Iran using essentially like the light over your garage or something like that motion sensor. So when you walk by, that light goes on. Well, that would finish the circuit and the bomb would go off and hit your vehicle. So Matheny got killed by the EFP, and then it just kept going. So we lost 7 more guys, and then now it's our turn. We're getting ready to go home. This is November 26th. So we're getting ready to leave. We're hours from flying, and our Echo company, so our engineers, the company commander and the executive officer, Captain Fraser and Captain Hamill, they decided to go on one more what we call right seat ride. They're going to teach the new guys, hey, this is where you go, this is where you don't go. You can talk to this imam. These guys are cool. You know, this area is dangerous. They get hit by an EFP in a Buffalo, and they were killed hours before they flew. So instead of their family getting home their hero after a year, they get a knock at the door saying, I'm sorry for your loss. And it took out any morale we had left, all the things we were thinking about, whether it was, you know, shot of whiskey or, you know, laying down with the wife or whatever it was you were thinking about. T-bone, none of those things were on your mind anymore. And it just felt like it was started the same way it ended, and that was bloody. And it changed, I think, every one of us who were there, because there was so many guys who were injured who weren't killed, and then there were guys who were struggling with the guys who were burned to shit or who lost a leg or both of their legs. Right, we got 2 double amputees. One's a Paralympic runner. One's a sled hockey guy. And I'm grateful because I know these savages. Right, they're not average. They're savage every day of their lives. And I came home and I drank. First thing I did was go drink. I went and got the biggest bottle of Grey Goose they had and single barrel Jack Daniels. I went to the house, and it wasn't just me. I'm going to bring the guys too, right? Because, you know, they're looking to me for some sort of leadership, and I got nothing for you. I don't even know how to talk about this shit right now. Let's just drink. And that was my answer.
Now you say you came home. Is that you coming just home from deployment, or are you getting out of the military at this time? Mm-hmm.
Nope. So I came home from deployment, and immediately they break up the band, right? So they start separating us. So I was in 4th Infantry Division, and essentially at that time what was happening was they were reassigning folks. So 4th Infantry Division was moving back to Fort Carson, Colorado. So we had a choice. We could deploy with 4th Infantry Division again, and then we could go to Fort Carson when we get back. We could move to Fort Carson now and then deploy from there. Or we could deploy with 4th ID, come back and stay there, but go into 1st Cavalry Division. I didn't want to do, I really didn't want to do any of those. I was going to go to the 101st Division after that deployment. But what happened was they sent me down to 122 Infantry. So I was going to deploy one more time with 4th ID no matter what. So I get down there and we do all the pre-deployment checklists and stuff. So I'm going through that, and they determine I have PTSD and TBI. And it doesn't take them very long to figure this out. You have some mental health issues.
All right, let's back up there then. I mean, how just look at you and say, hey, you got, I mean, how'd that come up? I mean, how did even, what are the symptoms, you know, what was going on?
So they didn't even really, I don't know. The questionnaire probably had symptomatic questions, but what they asked was, were you ever exposed to gunfire? Were you ever exposed to a dead body? Well,
of course.
Yes. So, and so all of these things in the beginning, listen, when I came back from that second deployment, our sergeant major told us, hey, listen, they're going to ask these questions. If you guys start marking yes on this shit, you're not going to go home on leave. You're going to stay here and they're going to evaluate. Hey, fuck you. I'm going home, right? I got something to do. And it's been a year without it. So I'm going to go get some right now. And all I could think was I'm going to do whatever I have to so that they'll stamp my paper and let me go do my job. And so I did. I marked no to all that stuff, even though I knew it was bullshit, right? But I thought that what I was doing was the right thing. So now I'm getting ready to redeploy again, and they're saying, hey, man, you got all these check marks on here. Like, this is concerning to us. So they sent me to mental health, and they sent me to this group therapy. And this is kind of where shit went a little sideways, I won't lie. They put me in there, and they have what we would call pogues, people other than grunts, right? Person other than grunts. These guys aren't gunfighters. That's their job. There were some of those guys in there, infantrymen, artillery, cav scouts, snipers, things like that. And then there was, you know, some guy who knew some guy who got shot, or, you know, things like that. And not to discredit their service, but it was my experience at that point was different, and I wasn't willing to talk about it yet. They wanted me to, and how am I supposed to be vulnerable in front of this dude? Because let me tell you what happens. They're going to overrun our camp. That dude's going to go run and hide, and I'm going to go take care of these motherfuckers outside. And so for me, my mentality was different. I didn't want to be around these people because I said, these guys are pussies and they're weak and they have fucking problems, and I'm not associated with that shit. And so this was me adding to that stigma, but I was afraid I have a security clearance. They're talking about promoting me again. Well, I'm not giving any of that up. I've earned this shit, right? And I've earned it the hard way. So now I'm in this position where I have to either tell this dude the truth or, you know, try to hide this stuff or minimize it. And so I go in this, and there's this guy talking about how, they were in the green zone and he had problems with the fishing pole or some shit. And I'm like, fishing pole? Let me tell you something, dude. I got in trouble one day because the sergeant major asked why I hadn't had a haircut. And I said, Sergeant Major, you're aware the two brothers that cut hair over here, they got killed like 3 days ago and they got thrown in the ditch, right? And he's like, yeah, Roger that. And I was like, and then the lady who was doing the eyebrows for the females, she started cutting hair. They killed her and her husband yesterday. You heard about that too? This was totally normal where we were at, right? So I come home and I'm supposed to try to act like everything is normal here. Nothing felt normal. And so my reactions to things were getting worse, and I'm in here telling, look, I don't fucking belong in this group. Fuck this. And I left. So they called me in for a private one-on-one, and the lady said essentially that she was a captain, and she said, listen, we don't have what you need here. I'm going to send you to this guy off post, off base, and you can go talk with him. And he was a medic in Vietnam. My guy was a little crazy, so he was perfect, right? And I'm telling him, like, I'm carrying a gun everywhere I go. I'm hiding it so I can drive through the gate because I'm afraid that I'm gonna get attacked. I feel that I'm gonna get attacked all the time. I'm driving, I'm swerving at trash and shit in the road. So now I'm having someone else drive me around, literally, because like one of my soldiers drive me around because I don't feel safe. I shop at 3 o'clock in the morning at Walmart. I'll clear my house in the middle of the night if I hear something. And it's just things weren't going good in my life. And I'm over here trying to hide it so I can be professional at work. And it was fucking killing me.
So so I'm like, when I listen to it, it's you're experiencing it by yourself, but you're in a group of there's a league of people that have experienced the same thing, but nobody's talking to each other. And there's a couple different things. Like the one thing about you shouldn't be in a group where the people that are in that group don't have similar experiences.
Yep.
I think you'd probably do better in a group like with that combat medic from Vietnam, as opposed to somebody who served the same time as you. You know what I mean? Because you saw the same kind of ugly, right? The other thing is, and Doug and Raul and myself, and we all talk about it, we operate at 110% at our most effective in chaos. You throw me in the middle of a shitstorm, and it's the most comfortable place I can be. The scariest places for me are quiet when I got a lot of time to do nothing. And it's all those kind of things combined. And even on top of that, so there's that. Then we have, before you can leave, fill out this paperwork. You put any fucking thing that says yes or maybe, you're out. It's a wrap. So not only are they going to move you out and kind of take your identity away, in essentially, or who you are, but they're also removing you from your people. Listen, the people that I was deployed with or that I worked with in some shitty situations, if I hated them in that group, there was just a bond there. Outside of the group, people would be like, oh my God, you guys are brothers. But we can fight. We can fight in here. So they're setting us up to lie about how sick we are. And then, but they want us to talk about it. So it's super big conflict. And the one thing when you're saying that was reminding me, I had a company commander he's like, hey, today is Amnesty Day. And I went to MEPS in Brooklyn in Fort Hamilton, right? And he's like, everybody in the place was from like Washington Heights, so either Dominican, Puerto Rican, Black. It was just, there was thugs going through boot camp, right? And he was like, hey man, this is your one day to tell us without any repercussions what you got away with, what you did. And this dumb Puerto Rican kid was like, yo, we did this, and we got fucked up. For the rest of the fucking day, we were working out in the tools. Like, what you doing? That dude said it was okay. I was like,
stupid. Yeah, hey, man.
But that was so when you're explaining that, I'm like, dude, they're asking us. And then when we leave and we try to get a job somewhere, most of us come into law enforcement or first responder or whatever, they give you that same questionnaire. What are you going to do on that one?
Exactly.
You're going to fucking lie.
So Danny, so basically you get the questionnaire and you put down the answers and they say, hey, we got to talk a little bit. Right. So that talk turns out to be that you get diagnosed.
No. Well, with
Mm-hmm.
PTSD, yes. So they did say you have PTSD, and they were pretty sure I had TBI as well, but they didn't diagnose me because they started sending me to this guy off base just to talk. He was just therapy, not he wasn't trying to get me on meds or any of that other stuff. He was trying to actually, I think, help me so I could either be deployable again and go. And so, but I should back up a little bit. When I was on that second trip, I met a woman there who was in the 101st Airborne School, and we started talking there. And then we came back and we got married. And she had a number of issues as well. She didn't disclose that she was bipolar. I wish she would have told me
You
that.
may have loved her more.
But yeah, maybe.
I'm messing around.
Yeah.
Keep going,
Yeah,
man.
I got tricked.
Yeah,
Danny, I got tricked too, man.
So go ahead, man. I'm sorry. Keep going.
Well, I come back and I'm going through this stuff, and we get married, and she had childhood trauma and I had childhood trauma, and like I know I didn't dive real deep into that stuff. I think I gave a kind of a broad overview of like, my mom was pretty messed up. My dad's got PTSD. Well, there's this thing called the ACE study, Adverse Childhood Experience Study, and I took it when I was in college after the military, and I got a 10 out of 10 on it. That is a terrible score. Says I'm going to die early. I don't believe in that shit because I control what's going to happen in my life for, like as far as my health and all that stuff. But it opened my eyes to the things that I experienced and how that was affecting me prior to, and what led me even to that spot into, what we're going to get into with Warfighter was they did take my purpose. They did take my identity. They told me that I wasn't fit for duty anymore and I had to go home, except they don't know where Del Paso Heights is. There's no fucking home to go to. So there was nothing for me. My future was not just glim. It was non-existent. And everything that I worked for was to have status in that military. And now, like Chris was, listen, man, I'm not part of this family anymore. I'm not part of that team. So I have to separate myself and somehow be okay with that. Well, I wasn't okay with that. I wasn't just part of that crew. I was leading that crew. And you can go ask them boys right now. They'll follow me to hell and back because we've been to hell and back. And they know when it's time to go to work, I'm not going to drag my feet. I'm going to get my ass up. I'm going to go knock out work. And I'm going to go back to chow, right? And I'm going to go work out. I'm going to go decompress whatever way I can. And when I got separated from the military, I was devastated. I felt like my country abandoned me. I felt like they betrayed me. And I felt like I had a lot more to give. So then I'm just self-destructive, right? But kind of. I still, now I got this woman pregnant. We're married. She's going to have my child. I have to figure out a way to provide for these guys. So I get recruited. I go work in the oil field, right? This guy calls me, says, "Hey man, I know you're an explosives expert." And I'm like,
right.
"Who the fuck are you? And how'd you get my number?" And I was a little freaked out, to be honest with you. And he ends up putting me on with, this company, Schlumberger. It's a Fortune 500 company. Schlumberger and Halliburton are the two biggest oil field companies. Chevron doesn't drill for their own oil. They have Schlumberger and Halliburton do it. So we call them the Crips and Bloods because they're red and blue. And so I ended up working for them. I was a wireline engineer. I'm in Arkansas. I'm making a bunch of money, but I'm miserable. My life is shit. I'm working, 100 hours a week. I'm drinking when I'm off, and I'm abusive. I'm violent. I'm hostile to everyone. I get road rage incidents. But I choked a guy. I grabbed him by his fucking neck and was lifting him off the ground because he pissed me off. And I told him leave me alone, and he didn't. So I walked. And they're supposed to fire both of you. If you get into a physical altercation at work, they have rules that say you're both fired because you should have walked away and you shouldn't have never put your hands on. My boss comes in there and he's from Colombia, so he's like, "Daddy, what are you doing? Fucking go home right now." And so I was, all right, Juan, but. And Juan talks like that all the time. The only time he speaks perfect English is when he's singing Kiss.
All right.
Sing
so yeah, I mean, Danny, let's just get into it really fast, man. You ended up going to jail.
I did, yeah. I assaulted my ex-wife. I pointed a gun at her and told her to get the fuck out of my house. So we were not doing good. And she went outside of the house, but she called the SWAT team. And so Danny got put in a timeout. And you know what? I needed it. And as much as October 3rd was the worst day of my life, it was also the best day of my life because that sucked, man. I lost everything. But it reminded me that I did have something to live for. And I didn't have to keep living the way I was. In fact, if I was going to live, I was going to have to change.
So that
was
the started right point, then. The rock bottom.
That was definitely rock bottom. Yeah.
But I think
Well,
you know what I hear. It's different than somebody going into combat and then coming home. You didn't just not go into combat, but you were in a position. You were also in a position of leadership. So it's one thing to worry about yourself. It's another thing to worry about your people and then yourself. Which I know everybody worries about the people aside next to them, right? But
Responsible
if
for
you're
them
a
as
squad
well.
leader,
Yeah.
yeah, like that's on you. And I think a lot of that you coming home is sure you want to be with your people, but you want to be with them to protect them. I don't think people think they're like, oh, he just wants to be with his friend. There's that, but there's a responsibility and an ethos that we live by that again, we're not leaving anybody. And if I'm there, I know I can control that whether they go home to the best of our ability. And then you come home. But all that stuff leading you to getting locked up and then kind of changing you coming out of that, which is that's why I'm hoping we get into is that what got you down that road are the same qualities and personalities traits that are making you successful now. I just think it's again it's a journey, and I don't know that there's anything more honorable. I think I'd be more concerned, or I'd be like, whatever. If you're like, yeah, fuck it. If you didn't have an opinion or one way or another, but you're so vested, that shows that you care. And we'd only get that hurt when we care that much. I don't know. To me, it's admirable. And
Chris, funny you said that, man, because when I was in the cuckoo house, I had a therapist, and she was just like the lady on Poltergeist. You know, the little lady that was yelling Carol Ann into the TV. That's what, like, when I first saw her, I was like, damn, that's the lady from Poltergeist. So she instantly scared the shit out of me. And she ended up becoming my therapist, through the whole, journey through that shit. And I could not pull it together even when I came out. Like, I had a year of just mayhem and I couldn't pull it together. And she looked at me one day and she goes, just like this, she goes, you know this bad motherfucker you are? And I said, yeah. She goes, you need to do whatever you did to become this guy to become the next version of you. And it registered. I went, the perseverance of going through hell to become the guy that I wanted to be was the perseverance I had to put forward again to become the next guy that I wanted to be. And the next guy I wanted to be was not fucked up in the head. Well, clearly it didn't work because here we still are. But
that's right.
We're work in progress, Doug. But I'll tell you this. Being at that lowest point in there, being around people that I wanted nothing to do with, right? Because these are people who live their lives in criminality every day. They go out trying to get over on other people and fuck them over and rob them and, rape and kill and all that shit. And that's not who I am at my core, right? But my behavior is leading me to, I gave up the very thing I fucking fought for. And so now, what am I going to do? What is my response going to be? Well, my dad wrote me a letter and he said, your last name, and I'm a junior, right? So his name is mine. And when he types in his name on fucking Google, and when he sees a mugshot of me, that's not good for him, right? That doesn't make him feel good. And I'm his only son, and I'm his namesake. So I was ashamed, right? I was absolutely, I'm ashamed right now. But what I know is this. My dad told me, you can make your name shine or you can muddy it up. It's up to you. And I know that I wasn't the author of the first chapter of my life. And I know that the trauma I experienced then led me to have really crappy coping skills and bad communication skills. Well, I'm an articulate grunt and I know how to read and write and all that good stuff. So I can start figuring some things out, but I have to give effort. I have to try. And so when they opened that door and let me out, I knew I had to not only make changes, but I had to really commit to diving deep into my trauma, into my shit, and unpacking all of Pandora's box. And I still do. I go to therapy every fucking week. On Wednesday, I go to therapy. My therapist knows I'm going to be there because I need it. Because I don't want to ever be that person who can't control their emotions and allows their behavior to betray them, right? Because that's not my character. Now, leadership, they taught me in the Army, was this acronym, LDRSHIP. And it stood for loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. And I'll tell you that integrity, it matters to me, which is why I don't shy away from what I did, because that's not who I am. Who I am is who I get to choose every single day. If you followed me around, you'd see how I live my life, because you guys spent a lot of time and money teaching me to be a leader, and I'm not going to waste that. I'm going to help these guys who trusted me to take them to war and bring them home. I'm going to help these guys who trusted in the system and the system has failed them. But more importantly, I'm going to help these dudes who are in the same spot as me so that they don't have to go through the same shit that I did, because that stuff did help, mold me into someone who's even more resilient than I was before, but someone who's
let's put this in
compassionate
order
and
real
has
quick,
empathy
Danny.
as
So
well.
I want to make sure we don't skip this. So, you hit, I'm just going to call it rock bottom. You hit rock bottom. I'm making a change. You're going to make a change, and you start making a change in your life. So I get that. But then, like, to go the extra step, like, what makes you, you know what, and I know I'm going to help the world. I mean, what the fuck? How does that even happen?
Adam Smith is from Dayton, Ohio, and Ohio's a shithole. If you've ever been there, it's a cornfield. I mean, I know they love it, but they only love their Buckeyes, and that's about it. So,
and they suck too. So,
and they suck too. So,
right,
I love it. Football season back. Anyhow, so Adam Smith was one of our scout snipers, and he was one of my closest friends. And he had messaged me, and he was a little drunk, and he messaged me, and I could tell he wasn't doing great. And I told him I was going to write this book about our deployment that year, and he said he was glad, and he asked if I would share with him what I'd written, and I hadn't even told anyone I was doing this yet, and I sent it to him, and he said, you have to do this, and a few days later he hung himself and he was gone, and it devastated me. And there was a dozen guys showed up to his funeral. I said, what the fuck are we doing, man? He needed this last week. What are we doing? So I went home and I talked to, I met Fawn after, I get out of jail. I'm trying to put pieces of my life back together, and I meet Fawn. Now, Fawn and I grew up in the same area at one point, but she's a few years older than me. So my freshman year of high school was her freshman year of college. And so I didn't see her then, but I played football with her cousin, and I knew her sister and things like that, her family. So I was put into this group, and she was in there, and we started talking, and I was smitten, to say the least. So I started DMing her, and hey, how you doing? And we started talking, and she saw something.
They didn't have DMs back then, Danny. Don't try that.
You still writing letters, man. Do you like me? Mark yes or no and shit. Come on, man.
Go
ahead, man. Sorry about that. Go ahead, man.
So I moved home. I needed the ocean, and I needed good tacos, and they didn't have that in Arkansas. So I moved home and back here to California. And Fawn and I were dating, and she's got 4 kids, 2 biological kids, 2 kids that she adopted out of foster care with her ex-husband. And I get this second chance at life. But when Smitty committed suicide, I told her, I'm going to invite my fucking battalion to the house. We're going to have a reunion. And I told them, listen, there's no perfect time or place. Just you guys come here, and, I can put all you guys up. I probably can't afford to help fly all you guys, but if there's some of you guys who are struggling financially or whatever, we'll make it work. I'll figure it out. And so we did that. And the healing that happened over that weekend was unbelievable, man. So I'll tell you, Smitty committed suicide. The guy who was his squad leader, Rob Berry, is one of my best friends. Rob was the squad leader for that scout sniper platoon, and he's a bad dude in his own right. In OIF-1, in the initial invasion, he got pinned down in a palm grove with one of his soldiers. His soldier had been shot, I think twice, and they were kind of down in this little ravine, and he's shooting it out, and they got a bunch of bad dudes. Well, Rob ran out of ammo, and he was using his soldier's ammo before they finally got help, and he was down there for over an hour shooting it out with these dudes. He thought they were going to die, and he got a silver star with the V device for valor for that. And he kept that guy alive, and he never lost a soldier in combat and deployments or whatever. And this was the first guy that he ever lost, and it was from a suicide, and he felt fucked up. When he retired from the army, he lived out in Bavaria, Germany, where he didn't speak the same language as everyone, and he didn't really have to interact with people. He just wanted to isolate out in the woods and the mountains. And he realized he did need to interact with people, and he did need to have that socialized or social connection. And so he came for that reunion, and he agreed to move back to the States, and he went to therapy and started getting help. And now he helps people. He works helping people. He moved back to Michigan, poor guy. Him and Ohio, they love each other. And so through that, Fawn and I realized not only the power of connection with the people we served with, but that there were a lot of people. So a lot of my friends became first responders, and they got out. They became police officers and firefighters. We're chasing that gunfight, that adrenaline. And so now I have all these dudes, and they started looking to me because I didn't just stop with the reunion, right? I started putting out messages, and then I said, hey, listen, man, if you guys need help, let me know. I have resources. And I started putting together some resources. And then eventually Fawn said, man, let's just start our own nonprofit. And I thought she was a psycho. And we did it, and we started Warfighter Overwatch, and it's a veteran and first responder nonprofit. And this is giving me purpose. This allows me to help my brothers, right? Because I'll give you an example. I have a brother. He was an infantryman with me on my second trip. He shot some bad dudes and has, some things that he did over there. And he came home and he goes to work in the parish down in Louisiana at the sheriff's office. And he says, and this was like maybe 2 years ago now, he gets a call and he says, hey man, or he texts me, he said, do you have a minute? And I said, yeah. And he said, so he calls me and he said, I was just involved in a shooting. And,
Hey, Dan,
yep.
is that that's twice somebody's went by your window behind you. That window right there, somebody just ran by it before somebody creeped by it.
That's all right.
All right,
I appreciate it. There's a little
okay.
karate place right here. The kids always come running by.
If that was your bedroom, I'm gonna be like, bitch, you better get your fucking shit together.
I'm good. So I'm literally Warfighter Overwatch, and I have a tattoo shop and t-shirt. I'm literally right across the police
Sorry,
station.
man. Keep going, man. Sorry about that.
All right. Good. I know where you live, man. I'm just looking out for you.
I appreciate it. I do. What was I telling you?
So you thought she was crazy for suggesting the nonprofit, and
yeah,
you're dealing with the guy from the parish that was involved in the shooting that went on your second trip.
Yeah, so he calls me. His name's Lyons, and he calls me and he says, "Man, they tell me there's a veteran and he's not doing good, and he's kind of holed up in his house or whatever." So I drive up there, and he goes, "Because of you, I got these resources in my patrol cars." So I'm like, "Shit, I'm gonna come up here and help this dude. This is my brother. I'm gonna help him out." He said, "I went up there. I was arrogant and I was complacent. I got out there and he started shooting at me, and I had to kill that guy, and it fucked him up." And he said, I'm we don't talk to anyone right now. We have to wait till all this, investigation stuff happens and internal affairs and all that stuff. And I asked him, I said, "How are you doing?" He said, "I don't know." And I said, "That's fair, but check this out. I need you to understand a couple things. Those boys to your left and right, they're going home tonight to their families because you took action. When you got there, that guy had demons that you don't know nothing about. And he decided to unleash them on you. And I'm glad that unfortunately, you're the one who went through it, but I'm glad that it was you because you know what to do in that situation. It's not to fucking think, it's to react. And you did exactly what you were supposed to do. I'm grateful that you were the one who was there tonight. I'm sorry that happened to you, but I promise you that you did the right thing, even though it may not feel that way because you feel like you hurt someone that, you could have cared for, that you could have, had in your life because he served. And he didn't want your help. And that's not your fault, right? You were willing to give it to him. He didn't want that. Those kind of things were happening. And obviously the world can be a pretty crazy place. So, I got these guys who are struggling, and it wasn't just, I've had 9 guys die in combat on that second trip, 15 suicides from that unit since I've come back. My company commander, he was one of them. They put him on the cover of the Army Times, and we had 6 more that year. And the guys are saying, if he can't do it, how am I supposed to do this shit? And so we have to be able to do something, that's worthwhile and that can really make an impact in these guys' lives and their families' lives, right? Because people don't like it if they see, some cop beating some guy up or doing something right. All right, well, what are you doing to help that guy? You have no idea what that cop went through the day before or earlier or what call he went. So I'm privy to some of these incidents that these guys go through, and they're willing to be vulnerable with me because I'm willing to tell them my story, right? I'm willing to tell them that, I didn't like myself anymore. And so I tried to kill myself because I thought all I brought was death and destruction to this world. And look, I even abused my own family. What a piece of shit I am. So it's better if I'm just not here. Everyone else is going to be better off. Well, that's not true. I have brought a lot of good to this world. I needed a reminder that I wasn't my experiences. I wasn't these incidents that have happened. In fact, it's much more complicated than that. And I have the ability to adapt and pivot and to learn from the stuff I've been through. I wasn't using it in a positive way. And now I get to. Now I get to help people and impact their lives, not just in a small way or in one incident or one single day or minute, but I'm always available for these guys to talk or to go hiking. We're going to take 15 dudes up on Half Dome in Yosemite in a month, right? I'm going to push them physically, mentally, emotionally. I want them to bare their soul to their therapist. Go to the professional. Sometimes we need professional help. If you weren't good at push-ups, somebody was going to send an asshole like me, and you were about to be the subject matter expert in push-ups, right? And so I was, I want to show you how to do that. And the best thing I could do is lead by example. So that's why I still go to therapy. That's why I tell my kids it's okay to fall on your face.
So basically, the smart one in the marriage knows that, hey, maybe we need to do a nonprofit, because you didn't know to do that. You're like the rest of us. You ain't as smart as the woman, so it's okay. It's okay. We're gonna go ahead and go there.
Bro, listen, now hear me out. We've had this conversation and we pose this question, and my response to that is this. And I hate to be obtuse or to be confrontational. That's not what I mean to do. However, I married Fawn. Super smart decision. I picked up, outkick my coverage, as they might say. Married me. Maybe not the best choice. So if we're talking about who's smarter here,
I see your point, but I ain't going there. I've met your wife. I'm scared.
People listen. I could tell my kids war stories.
They know who to be frightened of, man.
Cool story,
bro. Because the children know, as tough as we may be. Like I forgot how to say the saying, but basically it's like, a kid can melt my heart and have my wallet, but you can't take a dime from me. You can't, a man can't get a dime from me, but a kid, as much as tough as I may want to be, I remember having a gig where the state attorney, she's got 2 children, and we would be with the little 5-year-old. Man, that little kid, grab me by my finger, take me over there. I'm buying him ices.
Yeah.
And she already told me, like, he don't need any snacks right now. He's going to go home and have dinner. And I tell her, he grabbed me by my finger, take me over there. And I told her, I tried to fight him. I couldn't, I don't have, I ain't got it in me. I can't do it. So, any case, yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I will tell you, sorry, Raul, in hearing it, and I know because just being involved with Survive First, and I think while you're helping the warfighter, you're helping your brother or sister. I think there's people that you'll never see that you've helped. I forget what it is, and somebody mentioned it was like one of those quotes is like, you're planting seeds to a tree that you'll never feel the comfort of the shade. I think, and what we're talking about right now, it's also when you help that. And by the way, you're helping you. We all know that when we help other people, we're just helping us. We want to be there for us, but you know who I feel the most hurtful for is the family, because the person that's going batshit crazy, he or she's in their own world. But I think about all those people that love that person, who once they put themselves aside to help him or her, that they don't get the help that they need. And I think in what you're doing with Warfighter and taking care of that, you're paying it forward like 3 or 4 generations down the road. So it's not, but it's hard to see sometimes. And I think I don't, and of course we're not doing this for the money. Lord knows, Lord knows this is the shittiest way to make money. But I think we're doing it because a year, 2 years, 10 years down the road, some grandkid is going to see the struggle that granddad did and that dad went through and be better for it. And then have, I don't know, it exponentially gets bigger and bigger. And I think that what you're doing with Warfighter Overwatch is just that, just like Survive First.
The best thing I could give my kids is to improve myself, right? And so You know, Jared, I was telling you guys about Jared Monty. So Jared was my first squad leader. He taught me how to be a fister, and he got killed in June of 2006 in Afghanistan. He got the Medal of Honor. And there's a song called I Drive Your Truck by Lee Brice, which is how his dad dealt with his death. He drove his truck and actually rode in that truck with his dad and told him stories about Jared. But I was not living a life worthy of his sacrifice, right? And I knew that. And I was ashamed, right? I felt guilt and shame about what I was doing and how I was living. And because I was abusing myself, right? I was abusing other people. I was abusing myself. I was really shitty towards myself. And when people who cared about me tried to get me to stop, I'd tell them to get fucked. And then I would be confrontational with them. And then I would intimidate them, or I would, so that they would leave me alone because I was trying to, die in my own little pity party. Well, I think what has happened, the transition that has happened in my life. First off, they gave me a quarter point as supervisor, and he was going to come check on me to make sure I was doing the right thing, right? And his name is Chris. Chris comes to my tattoo shop and gets tattooed. His son is in the Army. He comes to my tattoo shop and gets tattooed. Because, and I didn't own the tattoo shop in the beginning when I was doing all this stuff. I didn't own any of that. But Chris knew that that's not who I was, right? It did not take him very long to figure out. He's like, why are you on my caseload? And I said, because I'm an interstate company, because I moved states and now they're getting money. I'm not going anywhere. We're doing day for day, buddy, me and you. So, and got voted at least. And so I didn't care about that part, right? Because I wasn't worried that they were going to come to my house and say that I had some freaking criminal enterprise going on. That's not what they were going to see. But the journey, the transition from being a shitbag to being someone who I could look in the mirror and be proud of every day, it was hard because remember, I try to take my own life. No one, even no matter what you guys hear about my story, I don't believe that anyone could ever think worse of me than myself. Maybe my ex-wife, but I hated myself so much. And so I remember posting this thing one day and it said, if I asked you to list all of the things that you love, how long would it take you to get to yourself? And I knew my answer was never. I would have never gotten to myself at one point. But I know that if I don't love myself, it's going to be difficult for me to love people, not in a real meaningful way. And so my kids deserve better than that. I got a second chance and I'm not going to waste it. I firmly believe that what's inside of you is greater than what's in front of you. Whatever adversity we face in life, you can overcome that. And I know that because, Shane's one of my best friends. He's missing both of his legs at the hip. He's got like 3 inches of nub on one side, none on the other. Shane's second son just turned 2 yesterday. He has 2 kids. He talked to a girl. He doesn't have prosthetics. He's in a wheelchair. You understand? He's a gorilla in the ground. And so he saves money on socks and shoes. He's working on his stand-up, all those good things. But Shane has the best perspective and outlook on life. And he reminded me, man, that listen, you are a warrior. And I need you to start acting like that. I need you to be that sergeant, that leadership, that guidance that we had then. We trusted you, right? Love is respect and trust. And I love these men. So I make sure I tell them every day. And I tell them, look, man, I've struggled. I still struggle. I still have things going on in my life that are hardships and that are, frustrating. But I don't let that get me out of my character. I make sure that I find a plan. And when I'm struggling, I use my support system. I didn't go to war alone. I didn't get gunfights alone. I don't fight my battles back here alone. I use my team. And Fawn is she's the magic behind all this. She's the reason that I'm alive, the reason that I'm able to, to bring this message to the masses. Because she doesn't want to do all that. But I don't mind talking to the people because I've lived this life, and she's had to live it, vicariously through me. She's seen my boys struggle. She's seen people that I care and love, in their life and saw what that did to me. And so we don't want any families to go through that. We don't want other people, especially people who serve, people who are honorable, who are valuable, who are assets to their community. They need our help. And I'll be damned if I let them struggle alone in silence, man. I'll find them. And I want the worst of the worst. I want the fucking people who were just as bad as I was.
Absolutely.
Those are the people that I can help.
And we're coming up on time. Well said. Well said. Really fast. And I'm going to say it now and I'm going to say it again. You're coming back, so I don't give a shit. Just know that. So, but that being said, man, like, how did Warfighter Overwatch? Where'd that come from? Like, what the name and the mission? Like, give me that real fast.
So we call ourselves warfighters, and Overwatch is the position. Like as a fister, I'm usually in an Overwatch position. So when things go south, I'm going to drop bombs, and we're going to win every single fight. You understand? Every fight, we do not lose. Our country does not send us somewhere. We're the away team for a reason, but I'm going to bring it to you every time. When Uncle Sam is tired of talking, he sends me. So Warfighter Overwatch was our way of really punching the stigma in the mouth of really getting after this mental health and suicide prevention stuff. And, essentially what we want to do is build camaraderie and unity through, physical experiences, whether it's hiking, fishing, surfing, those sort of things where we're going to get out in the woods and kind of reconnect. And I'm going to put you with people who have had similar experiences and you can really relate to, because that's when we're willing to open up and be vulnerable. When we realize we're not alone, that other people have been through similar stuff, it allows us to be vulnerable and start shedding some of that crap we're carrying around, because it doesn't do us any good.
Absolutely, man. Great message, man. Hey, what we're going to do, because we're up on time right now, I'm going to go around the horn real quick, and I'll have us say a little something. Then you'll be last. Plug what you want to plug, give us whatever you want. But Scallon, man, what do you got, man? Talk to me.
I will tell you, in listening to Danny and everything that's going on, I'm just reminded, because you got that energy to save the world. And we may not be able to save the world, but we can save the world for that one person, for that one soldier, that one Marine, that one sailor, and their family. And the sad part is that there's plenty of people that need it, but the good part is that there's people like you and your family and the Overwatch, Warfighter Overwatch community, Survive First. We're not that many, but we're impactful, and you're just another prime example of how you can grow from the shittiest experience that you could possibly. You were set up to fail from the start, and you've overcome that and have become a light to some other people. So, man, my hat's off to you. The only problem I have with you is that I have not received any information on the tattoo shop. And why the fuck haven't I been able to get over there and get hooked up, man?
Danny, you know what, brother? You got to stand in line. I already told Danny, and I'm going to be sending pictures here. So next time I go, we have an appointment, man, and I will do it, man. I will sit for an 8-hour session, brother, and get it done. So you already know. Hey, Chris, you've already spoke. Shush.
Hey, unicorn. I can give you.
Can I mute you? Let me mute him. We're fighting for you, Danny. We're fighting for you, brother.
I appreciate everything you do, Danny, and my hat's off to you and your family for all that you've done and what you continue to do. And we're gonna be out. Are we gonna be out his way?
What we got in California? Yes. But that may be a few hours away, brother. That's gonna.
I don't give a fuck.
We're gonna be out in. I think is that close to LA? Where we going, Doug? I don't know.
County?
Oh yeah.
We're definitely.
Yeah, so we're
LA,
several hours away from them, so that's gonna be too far to kind of. Listen to him just talking that shit. You hear them, Danny? Anyway, hey.
Oh, you and I got a gig for the NA in like somewhere near Sacramento this year.
Okay, very cool,
coming up. They always pick these weird ass towns.
Doug, man, what you got, brother?
Oh man, that was pretty cool, man. I just sat there in awe of the whole conversation. But I'll say this: when I went, that's probably one of the coolest things I've ever done. The Warfighter, the conference, whatever we call it. And I noticed something. There's even a picture of me and Raul in the back looking, and because the stage was the coolest shit I ever spoke on. Like I never had no shit out in front of me like that. I felt special. But what I noticed was what you guys did there was you made everybody feel equal. Whether there's a difference between war fighters like us and other war fighters. You guys get what I'm saying. And you made everybody feel important and special, whether it was a dispatcher or a firefighter or a gunslinger or whatever it was. you guys did a really good job of that. I was really impressed the way it wasn't like most people, these conferences, we go to a lot of them. There's attitude, there's negativity, there's backdooring each other and, all that crap. We didn't see that. We were highly impressed. I'm honored to be part of it. I mean, you and I, we hit it off. All of us did from the get go. Because when you see somebody that's exactly like you in the mirror, you're like, I can fucking hang out with this dude. He gets it. And every once in a while, I say this to certain people about King Arthur being one of the greatest kings and one of the greatest warriors out there. And his round table was set up so that there was always room for somebody else to come sit at his table. And so I always had this thing in my life where I know that I'm going to get to sit at that table when it's my time. I know I'll be welcome at that table like Chris and Raul. And what I always say, and I say to you, is I look forward to sitting across the table from you one day.
Absolutely. Well said, Doug. Well said.
Thanks,
And I'll just say first, Danny, thank you for coming on and taking some time with us, man, and sharing a little bit of your story. I feel like we only scratched the surface. It's so much, so we kind of had to get through, but that leaves us some room to make sure you come back for part 2, or just man, we can just have you back a few times. You can just be some furniture, brother. You fit right in. So and again, I just want to reiterate what Chris always says about real recognizing real. It took us about 5 minutes, man, and I remember this vividly when we were in California, and we got to meet you. I remember standing on the stage, and you just, I mean, you've got this energy, you've got this thing, and this is going to sound hokey, but it's pure. It's not put on. It's not fake. It's not of arrogance. It's not I'm showing you my flag and I'm measuring, that I've done. It's not. It's none of that. It's just, man, I want to do the right thing, and it's just so. It's so out there. It's in front of you. Procedure. You can just it's just there, man. And so it was, and it's extremely like captivating, and just like, man, just want to, So anyway, thank you for having us and coming on the show, man. Thanks for being here and sharing some details about you, man. I can't tell you enough how much we appreciate it. So, and with that, man, Danny, you got the last word, brother. Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. I truly love you guys. And when I first met you, like you said, real recognized real, I knew immediately that you were my people. There was, well, first off, obviously I need to tell you guys, I own a tattoo shop. It's called Kinetic Ink here in Folsom. But you please see us. I own a couple businesses. I have a success story, right? And it didn't sound that way. People are listening to this stuff, man. It's crap. There's a lot of crap. But you know what? You can crawl through that crap and you can come out clean on the other side. So one of my favorite tattoos, and I know my parents probably didn't want me tattooing my neck or my hand, but I have selfless tattooed on my hands, and it's for a reason, right? Because this isn't about me, it's about other people. And if sharing my story allows one person to feel relief, then that makes me feel good. And I'll tell you that despite everything negative that you heard, we all have the power to be the hero in someone else's story. And I know that because some people will tell you I'm the hero in their story. And I don't even like that word, used to describe me, but I'll tell you that I get to do some heroic stuff now, and it has nothing to do with me carrying a weapon and kicking down doors and pumping bullets into bad dudes. And don't get me wrong, just like Doug, I wish I could say that I hated doing that shit. I fucking loved it. I loved going down and doing my job. But I love doing this more. I love helping people now. I love giving people that hope and being the light when they're in that darkness, because that's the only thing that can bring you out of the dark is the light. And I enjoy being that light for other people now. And because of people like you, I get to reach more people. And I mean, I'm friends with the chiefs of police and fire and all these. My story, we did barely scratch the surface. I go play golf with these people. I associate with them, and they don't mind associating with me because they know that,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, man, this stuff is genuine. I really want to help these people so that they don't suffer anymore, because they don't need to live like I was. And so, I just want everyone out there who's listening, you all have the power to be the hero in someone else's story, man. And I'm truly grateful
Thank
and
you,
humbled to be
man.
on it
Thank
with you
you.
guys.
And
Thank you.
hey, listen. In the
Thanks,
credits,
Danny.
you'll see the Warfighter Overwatch's contact information. Danny, go ahead and make sure you send me your tattoo info. I'll make sure that gets in the credits as well. And as always, guys, if you or anybody you know needs anything from us, if you're going through crisis, or you know somebody going through crisis, and anything that we can do to help, our information will be in the credits after the show. Reach out to us. We promise you we will reach back out to you guys. And with that, gentlemen, thank you again for a great show. Danny, you're coming back. Prepare yourself. You can't say no. Brother, thank you very much. I appreciate it, guys. Appreciate you.
I'll see you
For
tomorrow,
sure.
man. I'm
For
excited, man.
sure.
I'm excited to
All
spend
right,
some time
guys.
with you, man. And, for whatever reason,